Hello students, welcome back to my channel. I hope you have gone through the introductory video of this chapter thoroughly. Now in this class we are going to study further classification of solids. Previously in the first video I told you that solids on the basis of the nature of order of arrangement of their constituent particles were classified into two, crystalline and amorphous solids. Okay, now crystalline solids can be further classified into four types depending upon the nature of intermolecular forces, that is IMF, operating between the constituent particles. Okay, so depending upon or on the basis of intermolecular forces between the constituent particles, the crystalline solids are further classified into four types. Okay, they are molecular solids, ionic solids, then metallic solids and covalent or network solids. Okay, molecular solids are further classified into three types: non-polar solids, polar solids and hydrogen bonded solids. Okay, very precisely the major difference between all of them, as it's been told, it is intermolecular force. Okay, now intermolecular force which holds the constituent particles together, it depends upon the constituent particles only. Understood? Again I am repeating, IMF, that is intermolecular force which operates between the constituent particles, it depends upon what? The constituent particles itself. Okay, so let us see what are the constituent particles of each. See, now the constituent particle of this molecular solid are molecules itself. Okay, what I am talking about? Constituent particles. For ionic solid, they are ions which are positively and negatively charged, as I told you. For metallic solids, the constituent particles are positively charged ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. Okay, so the constituent particles of metals are, metals we know they form positively charged ions only, and whenever a metal will form positively charged ions, so it will lose electron. That's why it is written here, positively charged ions in a sea of delocalized electron. For the covalent or network solid, the constituent particles are atoms. Okay, now when we are saying that molecular solids are further divided into three, so generally they are molecules only, but which type of molecules? If it is non-polar molecular solid, then the constituent particles are non-polar molecules. Also I can say some noble gases. Okay, noble gases, they are atoms, noble gases atoms. If it is a polar molecular solid, then polar molecules, okay, will be the constituent particles. And if it is a hydrogen bonded molecular solid, then those molecules which consist of hydrogen bond between them, okay, that they will be the constituent particles or constituent molecules. Okay, now we are going to see all of them, this entire classification in detail along with the characteristic, type of forces, examples of each. Now let's see the different types of crystalline solids in detail. As I told you that crystalline solids are further classified into four types: molecular, ionic, metallic and covalent or network solid. So one by one we'll see each one in detail, and this table we have precisely written all the basic points or basic differences of this type of crystalline solids. So the first one is molecular solid. As I already told you, in molecular solid, what are the constituent particles? Molecules. Okay, so molecular solids can be said to be, they are said to be crystalline substances in which constituent particles are molecules. Fine. Now, if the constituent particles are molecules, so the type of forces which are responsible to held together for holding together the different types of constituent particles are dispersion or London forces, dipole forces, or hydrogen bonds. Fine. So in molecular crystalline solids, as I told you, in the table also you can see it's written, the constituent particles are small covalent molecules, and the types of forces involved in molecular solids can be dispersion or London forces, dipole interactions, or hydrogen bonds. Fine. Now, as you can see in the table, that the molecular solids are further being classified into three types: non-polar, polar, and hydrogen bonds. So, first of all, let us see non-polar molecular solid. Now, these are the crystalline substances in which constituent particles are non-polar molecules or atoms of noble gases. You all might be remembering noble gases, like for example helium, neon, argon. Their atoms are non-polar in nature. They do not bind with other atoms. Okay. Then these atoms or molecules are held together by weak dispersion forces or London forces. Okay. So in between non-polar molecular solid, which type of forces are there? Dispersion or London forces. You can see some examples like solid carbon dioxide, solid hydrogen, then some noble gases like helium, argon, neon, etc. Fine. Now let's see the characteristics of these non-polar molecular solids. First of all, they are generally soft. They have low melting point or very low melting point. Then because of these weak forces, they usually occur in form of liquids or gases at room temperature and pressure. Then basically these non-polar molecular solids are insulators. That is, they are non-conductors of electricity, because the reason is that is they consist of neutral molecules. Non-polar molecules are neutral molecules. Okay. Then neutral molecules, and these one, that is both in solid as well as dissolved state. In both the states they will be neutral, these non-polar molecules. Fine. So that is all about the non-polar molecular solids. Now let's move on to the next type, that is polar molecular solid. Now polar molecular solids are those crystalline substances which comprise of those molecules which are formed by polar covalent bond. You have studied these non-polar and polar molecules in class 11th, isn't it? If you remember, then dipole moment and all we have studied in class 11th. So in this polar molecular solid, which type of molecules are the constituent particles? Which consist of polar covalent bond. Okay. Then we can see some examples over here like HCl, solid SO2, etc. I am saying solid because in dissolved state they will form ions, isn't it? Then which are the type of forces present in polar molecular solids? Dipole interactions, which are relatively stronger forces. Then when we talk about the characteristics, their characteristics are quite similar to non-polar molecules. Like they are also soft, they are also non-conductors of electricity, they too have low melting and boiling points, but the melting and boiling points are higher than that of the non-polar molecules. Then most of them occur as gases or liquids under room temperature because their melting and boiling points are not very high. Now let's move to the third one, that is the hydrogen bonded molecular solid. As the name suggests, these molecular solid consist of those molecules which have hydrogen bond between them. The most common example for it is solid H2O, that is ice, isn't it? Now the characteristics. They are generally volatile liquids or soft solids. I am talking about hydrogen bonded molecular solids. They are either volatile liquids or soft solids at room temperature. Then they are non-conductors of electricity. Their melting point and boiling points are higher than polar and non-polar molecular solids. Okay, so that was all about the different three types of the molecular solids. Okay, in ionic solids, the constituent particles are ions, that is positively and negatively charged ions which are arranged in regular manner throughout the solid. Okay, now as the constituent particles are ions, therefore the forces which help to hold these ions are Coulombic or electrostatic forces, which are very strong in nature. Now you can see the examples: NaCl, MgO, sodium sulfate, barium sulfate, potassium nitrate, etc. So many examples are there. Then let us see the characteristics of ionic solid. They are very hard and brittle. They have high melting and boiling points. Now in solid state, they behave like insulators, that is non-conductors of electricity. The reason behind it is that in solid state the ions are not free, therefore they will behave as insulator. However, in molten state or when dissolved in water, that is in aqueous form, they conduct electricity and so they behave like conductors. Okay, so ionic solids can behave like both. In solid state they behave like insulators, but in molten or aqueous solution they behave like conductors. The reason is that ions will be free. In molten state or aqueous solution the ions are free and therefore they conduct electricity. Then they have high enthalpies of vaporization. Now enthalpy of vaporization is the amount of energy that must be added to a liquid substance to transform it into a gas. Okay, the amount of energy that must be added to a liquid substance to transform it into a gas. Okay, now these ionic crystals are soluble in water but or in some other polar solvents. Ionic crystal, because they themselves are having charges polar, therefore they will be soluble in water on some other polar solvent, but they are almost insoluble in non-polar solvents like benzene, etc. Now let us see the third type of crystalline solid, which are metallic solids. Now, metallic solids, the constituent particles are positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. Okay, that is these positive ions, we know the metals, they have the tendency to form positive ions, cations only by loss of electron. So, these positive ions are immersed in a sea of mobile electron. Delocalized matlab that is mobile electrons. Okay, that you can see with the diagram. This is an electron sea model for a metal, example of ionic solid. You can see over here there are positively charged ions, okay, and a sea of electrons. You can see the marking, sea of electrons, it is written, that is so many electrons are there, okay, and these positively charged ions are present over here. Okay. Now see, because of this so many delocalized electrons, these metallic solids show high electrical conductivity, because so many electrons are there and we know electrons are mobile and hence they will be showing high electrical conductivity. Now the forces present between metal ions are metallic bonds, okay, and as you have seen there in the diagram, that is the positive ions are called as kernels and the sea of electrons was there. So between kernels and that is positive ions and electrons there will be some electric attraction, okay, which is the metallic bonding. Now let's see the characteristics. They will be hard as well as soft. Okay, means they can be, maybe some of metals will be hard and some may be soft. They are good conductors of heat and electricity. They have metallic luster and color in certain cases. Then they show malleability and ductility, means all the properties which a metal show, they also, these metallic solids will also possess. Then we can see the examples for them, like the common metals, copper, then silver, iron, magnesium, and some of the alloys. Fine. Now the fourth type is covalent or network solids. Now the constituent particles of these type of solids are non-metallic atoms which are linked to the adjacent atoms by covalent bonds throughout the crystals. Okay, and this, due to this extensive linkage, they form a 3D network, or we can say giant molecules as well. Okay, then their characteristics. They are, means covalent crystals which are formed, they will be quite hard. They have extremely high melting points. They are poor conductors of electricity, that is, they are insulators. Like examples, we can take diamond, silicon carbide, quartz, which is SiO2. Okay, but there is an exception, which is graphite. Graphite is soft and is good conductor of electricity due to its typical structure. Okay, let us see the structure. This is the structure of diamond and graphite. You can see in diamond, each carbon atom, the dots represent carbon atom. Each carbon atom is linked to 4 other carbon atom and it is forming a 3D giant molecule. Okay, whereas graphite, you can see it is a layered structure, and here each carbon atom is linked to 3 other carbon atoms, so it has a free electron, because of which it will conduct electricity. Okay, and it has some exceptional property. This diamond and graphite in class 10th also you have studied in detail in allotropes of carbon, isn't it? So this is about the different types of the crystalline solids. So this was all about the classification of crystalline solids in detail. Now go through them thoroughly, because they are very important. Examples etc. are asked from this portion, 1 mark question etc. and maybe this time objective questions might be coming. More objective questions will be asked. So this is a very important topic in that relevant of your board exams. Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be back with the next video of crystal lattice and unit cell, an extremely important part of the chapter.